What's going on, everybody? Today I want to talk about Aragami 2, a game that's been pretty well anticipated. Me and a friend of mine played the first game, and we really liked it. We were pretty well thrilled by it, and it was even more impressive considering that the game was made by such a small team, and it was just really good. So we expected the second game to really kind of encapsulate and grow upon, what made the first game so good. And unfortunately, we didn't get that. So as you can see with the footage in the background that me and two of my friends were running around playing the game, it is best experienced in co-op wholeheartedly. Some of those moments where you're doing double and triple person time takedowns is just fantastic. It feels good. It feels great. It also means that when you're playing with your friends or anybody else, that you don't have to focus on being you don't have to have every ability. People can kind of pick and choose what they want, giving you more freedom to build your build the way you desire versus having kind of a jack of all trades build. And this led to some really good gameplay. But to me, speaking of abilities, the abilities to me do not feel as good as they did in the first game. They don't feel as good. They don't feel as 100% useful. There's one ability that is broken and pretty much useless at the current moment, and it's the first assassination ability you can get, and it just doesn't work. So it's a strange bit of development on their part. Now, when I said that we were really hoping that this game was going to kind of pick up on a lot of what the first game did that made it great, they actually took almost the entire identity of the first game away. You now, instead of having a shadow meter that you need to actually rely on the shadows to recharge your abilities, you have to just wait on a stamina bar. Why? You've now added a mechanic that you already had to make something else. They took away the ability to teleport from shadow to shadow and instead gave you the shadow leap to grab ledges. You can't even use it to jump to random locations, which is a pain in the butt. I think that is a huge flaw. That is, yet again, they took away something from the first game that was great and added something that is okay. Not sure who, what, where, and why, and who made that decision, but that was foolish. And it's just really silly to me, because it's like it falls under the category of you've now overdeveloped something. Like, you already had a system in place with the first game that you've replaced with another system that isn't nearly as good as what you had in the first game when you had a smaller development team. So I'm not quite picking up on that one. Speaking of new features, they've added the ability that you can actually engage in combat. You can actually have a fight with someone instead of getting one shot. I think this is a wonderful mechanic. Now, if there was a bit more consistency in the fights, it'd be kind of nice, because there's been times where I've parried an enemy and then had him instantly attack me when I've gone to press my attack on the parried enemy, so I don't really understand. Essentially, the only way to really beat someone in a sword fight is to drain their stamina and then get the instant kill or knockout. It really needs some work. That's a system that probably should have been more well thought of. I would have preferred if the enemies catch me, they one-shot me mechanic again, because at least I know what's going to happen versus... And you also cannot fight multiple people at one time. If you have two opponents on you and you're trying to, sword fight them, just smoke bomb them and either kill them or run away, because you are going to just get yourself killed unnecessarily. We were having some issues last night with it, and it was just... It's weird and frustrating how inconsistent it is. And speaking of inconsistent, one thing that was driving me insane last night was the fact that enemies' vision, sound detection, and many other things is very, very inconsistent. It does not seem at all to make sense, because I've executed people within a short distance of another person and they never detected it, and then I've done roughly the same distance and then that person heard. I don't understand how that works. I feel like it's luck of the draw whether or not you're going to get someone who has good hearing or not. And it's a bit frustrating because there's been setups that were completely ruined because the AI just detected me somehow. It doesn't make any sense. Jumping down and performing aerial executions can be sketchy because you don't know whether or not your character is going to actually perform the execution, and if you do it from high enough, you might actually just fall to your death. It's yeah, a bit strange. Now, speaking of strange, the fall damage is egregious. You are going to die more from falling than anything else. There is no way to really save yourself from a high fall. I don't understand why there's not some sort of roll mechanic or something to help mitigate fall damage. The best you can try to do is use your double jump to break your fall, or shadow jump or dash. It is, yet again, don't rely on it. We found ourselves just dying to stupid stuff over and over again because of these strange mechanics. But I want to kind of segue now into the storytelling aspect, because the first game was rather linear with kind of those nice open areas where you can approach them from a bunch of different angles with different abilities, and it was great. I thought that was fantastic. And what they chose for this game is just, boy howdy, they really just dropped the ball. They said, we're just gonna do whatever. The storytelling there's no connection. I'm playing it, and not one part of me is like, I care about my character or what I'm doing. In the first game, I felt kind of invested. It wasn't like the greatest storytelling ever, mind you, but it made me feel invested in what was going on. You know, I felt like I knew what I was doing and I knew what my purpose was. In this game, you just don't care. They've done a horrible job of making you care, because what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up going back to the same areas over and over, and you're going to keep replaying missions, and then they're going to get slightly longer each time. Like, you're going to be able to enter different areas, and it's just, I just don't think that, like, it's such a step backwards. And this is part of the discussion of having an overdeveloped game. You've created more mechanics and you've put more things into the game that don't need to be there when you already had mechanics that were there in the first game that worked. So I don't understand why you had to add all these new mechanics and do all these things when what you had originally was perfectly fine. And then they've added equipment, and not just usable equipment. There's some fun stuff like the amnesia darts, fun to play with, and then there's the smoke bombs, and there's all that sort of stuff, and that's cool. But you can get like armor and weapons that don't actually do anything besides cosmetic. And if you were going to go that route, which, let me tell you what, some of the cosmetic items are stupid expensive, and they don't even look that good. So it's like just weird, you know? And why you didn't just put a stats-based system, and I'll get to why they should have just had a stats-based system in a second, but why they didn't just implement that in the first place is beyond me. I don't know why you were going to put like all this gear in the game and then like blueprints to find like cool and unique gear, and then it just doesn't do anything besides look a certain way, you know? When you could have had the ability to like min-max and like have like cool builds, they kind of just gave you nothing. You know what I'm saying? And that being the case, you can get runes, which the runes, I'm going to be flat out honest, don't make any sense. Because the first one you get was called Steal, has nothing to do with stealing. There was like a defense one that actually took away defense. What they do doesn't always coincide with what you get, and then they always have a negative attached to them. Why is there nothing that just gives me a positive? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you gave people stats on their gear then you could have min-maxed with those, and you could have had like a super tight stealth build where you're really hard to detect. You could build yourself up for straight combat to fight people, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could literally just like make yourself a full-on combat ninja. Why you would is beyond me. I don't really know, but you could do that. That would have been an option. But all in all, I just don't get it. You know what I mean? I just don't get it, because the first game was fantastic, and then they really just, it's like they looked at the first game, threw it out the window, just like chucked the whole game out the window, and then made this game. And I just don't get it. Don't get me wrong. I think it's fun to play. Like, if I was playing this by myself, I probably wouldn't be enjoying it nearly as much as I am with my friends. But in reality, this is going to be a game, like, I don't feel any compulsion because the gear doesn't do anything cool. Once we beat the story, I'm just going to uninstall it. You know, I have no desire to go back through and play the game a second time, because it's not like I can get like the cooler, better, stronger gear and do better in my missions. That's not what's going on here. This is just bizarre in the approach. And also, if you're looking at the footage in the background right now, it says that we had 38 hostiles alive, and we got a spirit ranking with no hostiles killed, and we killed every single person we came across that mission. That's a bit of a strange bug, isn't it? Very strange, though. Very odd. This trend of dev teams kind of over-developing games, I've been kind of talking about this now for a while, that people keep adding more and more and more and more and more mechanics when the core aspects of a game get ignored for more features. And I think that's why I liked the first game so much, is because it wasn't huge, it wasn't flashy, there wasn't 10,000 things going on. You had your character, you had your powers, and then you had to learn to master them in different aspects, especially when they started adding new enemy types. In this game, we've made it to Chapter 3 and not really experienced any, like, difficult enemy types. We've not really... The hardest challenge is just not getting killed to gravity or the wonky combat system, which is really kind of disappointing. And yet again, you know, you play the same mission 3-4 times over, the same, like, area. You know what to do now. It takes away the fun of going into new areas with each level, and it's a new challenge, a new puzzle, you know, and it's like, it just feels like it has fallen flat on its face. Like they tried reinventing the wheel, and they came out with a rectangle. You know what I mean? You didn't quite do it. I think they definitely missed the mark with this one, and I'm really kind of disappointed. The game is available on Game Pass, though, so if you're on Xbox, download it, try it. Don't let my negative first impressions give you a bad perspective. You know what I'm saying? Try it for yourself. I just wanted to give my kind of honest, straightforward opinions of the game, and I might do a follow-up video after we've completed it to see if any of my opinions have changed. But I wanted to deliver kind of raw, honest, truthful, you know, this isn't me, I'm not bashing the game to bash the game. This is what I encountered after playing for several hours. But if you guys liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't like it, leave a dislike. Comment, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And as always, hope you have a wonderful day. I hope to catch you in the next video.